A potluck can be a sad smorgasbord of those dry shrimp rings and the spinach dip with the bread. It comes with bread. You don't want that. I've got a ricotta blueberry cake that will please any crowd. And on top of that, use the same ricotta for a weeknight dinner, a ricotta gnudi. My cake starts with half of a standard tub of ricotta that I've put off to the side here. And now I'm left with another half tub that I can turn into my weeknight gnudi. And a gnudi is a ricotta dumpling that comes together with flour and egg. And really it means like a nude ravioli. This is like a ravioli filling that we make into its own dumpling. So I take the other half and I'm going to strain out this extra liquid. The reason why we do that is when we bring this together to form a dumpling, I want to use as little flour as possible. And this moisture will take extra flour. So what we do is we take another tub, put it into this cheesecloth lined colander, and just half an hour in a fridge will take out that extra moisture in the ricotta so that I can turn it into a dumpling. Gnudi, like a gnocchi, is one of those things that's a handful of ingredients, and if you treat them correctly, don't overwork, don't underwork, it turns magical. It's one of those things that seems hard, but when you get the hang of it, you take a few staple ingredients and it's like a restaurant quality dish. It's a really, really awesome thing to try at home. And here it is. After about half an hour, you can see how much liquid has come out. Perfect. That'll allow us to use less flour to make our gnudis and to make it come together. So I take our strained ricotta into a bowl, and now we're simply going to bring it together into a dumpling to make a gnudi. So a little bit of salt, a little bit of cracked pepper, and all it needs is one egg just to bring it together into a dumpling. So get the egg in there, that's our glue, and then some flour. Sprinkle on top. Again, because we strained our ricotta, it won't take that much flour, giving us a light, airy gnudi. So you start in a bowl, you just kind of mix. Very important not to overmix, but we still want to bring it together so that the dumpling holds up in boiling water when we cook it. And then what you can do is get it onto your work surface and get into it. If you feel that the mixture is a little bit wet, a little dash more flour is okay on your hands. And we're bringing it together, getting all those rogue pieces here. Let it eat up all that flour. Perfect. So now I want to rest it in a bowl. Any dough we develop gluten we allow to rest just for about half an hour in the fridge. When my gnudi is resting, what do? I've got half an hour. There's a new baby in my house. Man, there's poo and pee everywhere. You know that. I don't have 30 minutes to kill and do nothing. My gnudi dough is resting, so now we can get to the cake. And I love this cake because you can dump everything in one bowl. You can even do it the day before. It starts with 3 eggs, break all the yolks, and a little bit of sugar. And we kind of cream the eggs and the sugar together until it gets a little pale. We dissolve all the sugar in the eggs. You don't want to see big clumps of granulated sugars. And you remember that ricotta that are reserved right at the top. You see, I don't have to strain it because it's all going into my wet portion of the cake. All in, give it a quick whisk, get the clumps out. Really makes our cake light, fluffy. And here's another trick. Olive oil in the cake. So an oil-based cake stays super moist, and you can make it a day in advance. It'll keep it really moist. It's heart healthy too. So when I eat half of this cake, I don't feel that bad. We're doing everything in one bowl. So we start everything wet, mix it nicely. We've got the oil, the ricotta, the eggs, and the sugar. And now we can incorporate all the dry ingredients into the same bowl. So I've got some baking soda here, a little bit of baking powder, gonna help it rise. That's our leavening agent with the baking soda as well. Some salt, and 2 cups of flour just to bring it together. Level off your flour with your finger. In baking, you always want to be precise. So there's 1, and here's 2. Level it off. And then, like I always say, We never want to overmix with a cake, a cookie, a muffin. So just slowly bring it together here, just to combine, just to incorporate. You can give the bowl a little zhuzh here to get the sides into the mix. There you go, all into the side. And you'll notice that as I'm folding this and stirring it gently, I'm not putting my blueberry in yet. I'm gonna get the blueberry in at the end so that I don't crush them. I still want them to have some shape, some integrity. Get the sides here, and as I'm at the end of this process, you can see it's almost mixed totally. I'll get the blueberries in. Beautiful fresh blueberry. And a little bit of lemon zest to give it that uplifting feel when you bite into it. You say, what is that? A little bit of fresh lemon. Goes really nice with the olive oil and the blueberry. Just like this, on the side here. I'm not crushing my blueberry. And this will give great specks of color throughout the cake. Each bite will have a little pop, a little burst. There you have it. So now I've got a little bundt pan here. I pre-greased this bundt pan, and I can go right into the pan. Get it in. This goes into an oven 1 hour, 350 degrees, and again, you can even do this the day before. This recipe is one bowl. You can make it the day in advance, and if you make a good dessert for potluck, everyone leaves that party thinking about you, saying, this guy was so good, this person was so brilliant. Make the dessert. Our cake is in the oven. That's going to bake for about an hour, and now our gnudi dough has rested for about half an hour. I'm ready to roll it out and show you how to bring these together. So here's our dough. We invert it onto our cutting board, and if you feel it's a bit sticky, no problem. Give it a little more bench flour. You actually would prefer it to be on the stickier side of things and use as little flour as you can. So you flour your surface, flour your fingers, bring it back together kind of thing. And then with a bench scraper, cut it into portions and roll it out into these logs. With your fingers, keeping your fingers nice and spread, that'll give you a nice even roll. Back and forth to your desired shape. Some people like a larger gnudi, some people smaller. I would say 3/4 of an inch is a nice shape for me. And then with your bench scraper, cut off these beautiful little dumplings. Soft and pillowy, and they'll stay together in the boiling water because we needed them just for a few seconds after it all came together. Now here's the trick. You can freeze these gnudi ahead of time very simply. I've got a cookie tray here with a little bit of flour, all-purpose flour, and I line them without touching on the tray. Okay? And I'll freeze these solid, and after they're frozen solid, you can store them in an airtight container. These will stay good for a couple months, and you freeze them straight from frozen. They'll float to the top and be ready to cook in 2 minutes. But here, we can make them from scratch. Now, I've got my pot of boiling water here at a rolling boil, and I'm gonna season it heavily. I want, in any kind of gnocchi, gnudi, or pasta cooking, for the water to taste like the ocean. This salty water will take on the starches of the dough and help us create an amazing sauce. So season liberally. Taste. It should taste like the ocean, like we're swimming in the Atlantic. Nice. And then we're gonna start our brown butter sauce so that we can time the dish perfectly. So a brown butter sauce is really about melting out the milk solids in the butter, and they'll caramelize and get nutty, take on these hazelnut notes. You can do this over medium heat, medium-high heat, but be attentive because the line between a beautiful brown butter and a burnt butter is pretty thin, so be careful here. Now, as our butter is starting to melt, that's what I'm gonna put in our sage here. So I cook out the rawness of the sage. Sage is one of those herbs that loves to be cooked. It mellows it out a little bit. So as the butter starts to cook and the milk solids come out and caramelize, the sage will crisp up in that butter. Now is a good time to drop my gnudi so that by the time that's cooked, this will be a brown butter. We marry it all together. So all this fresh gnudi right into the pot of boiling water. Again, give it a little zhuzh here, encourage it along. You can see in the center, the butter is starting to brown. I can smell sage cooking. I can see the brown bits caramelizing. Those are the milk solids. Look at the color I'm getting here. And we've timed it nicely. Our gnudi is floating to the top. That's a good sign that it's done, it's cooked. Took 30 seconds. Here's my brown butter. You see the color it took? And I'm gonna marry these beautiful, soft, pillowy ricotta dumplings. Oh! Into my sauce. Loosen them up there. And you know what? Even with a brown butter sauce, a little bit of the cooking liquid, which you would think water and fat don't match, but with a little bit of cheese, it's gonna emulsify, yes, into a beautiful silky sauce. So give it some Parmigiano Reggiano right in there and let it emulsify into a creamy sauce. Look, the cooking liquid is key. Give it a toss. And then at the end, we're gonna finish off with some toasted almond to really play with the nuttiness of this dish. And it goes into this brown butter, cheesy sauce. Toss it nicely at the end there. I'm gonna plate this up, and this is really a restaurant quality meal. Really elegant dish, really great to entertain with, to be honest. Get it all on there. The sage is totally cool when it's cooked. It's really, really rich. And at the end, of course, a little more cheese, and to cut the richness of that brown butter, some lemon zest. Once it hits the brown butter sauce, these flavors wake up. You smell them right away. Wait till you see this. I love when a cake gets kind of cracked at the top. You see the imperfections and the blueberry. I'm gonna invert it onto this little platter here. Cut a slice for someone, put it like that. Look at the blueberry, how it bursts open. Simple. Some whipped cream on top. Fresh berries in season. And a chiffonade mint. Forget the shrimp ring, forget the bread dip. Take dessert duty when you're invited to your next potluck, and you will be the hero. And as a bonus, you can use the same ricotta cheese to make these incredibly light gnudis that are restaurant quality and sure to please anyone. Take the leftovers? No, no one does that. Who does that out there? Don't do that. Take back your plate. You take back the leftovers that you brought? No. Whoever does that has been raised in a barn. You shouldn't do that. No one should do that.